Let's talk about planning from a board member's perspective. As a nonprofit board member, one of your main jobs is to make sure that your organization has enough resources to carry out its mission. So, understanding fundraising and engaging and supporting fundraising is a key role for every board member because otherwise you will be neglecting your legal duty. So let's take a look at the board members planning from a board member's perspective. There are many good reasons why you want to, as a board member, make sure that your organization has a plan. But one of the main reasons is that you want to make sure that your organization has a finite amount of resources and we're making an efficient and effective use of those resources. With a plan, you make sure that everyone is engaged at their highest and best use, and that they are spending their time at the highest and best, most productivity level and hopefully profitability level. So it's very important for a board member to understand how the organization executes its fundraising role. And frankly, if you really have a great plan, it's sort of like setting up dominoes so that your organization can seamlessly execute a program that will bring in the resources and the revenue that you need to fund your mission. And I find that I work a lot with boards all over the country and the world. I find that board members really enjoy educating themselves about fundraising, and that maybe staff could bring more information to board members just to educate you. In fact, I feel that the more a board member understands about how 21st century fundraising works today, the smarter and better decisions you can make about strategy, and the more appropriately you can invest resources in fundraising because you understand how it works. And it's not intuitive. For example, we have direct mail. We have many different fundraising programs. We have crowdfunding. We have major gifts. We have capital campaigns. And every one of these fundraising programs has a different model, a different return on investment, and a different set of best practices that we know that if you do the best practices, you will raise the money. So great for board members. It's fascinating, frankly, to learn about how fundraising really works today, and I highly recommend that you bone up a little bit on it because you'll be a more effective board member in many ways. Again, as a board member, you want to make sure that your infrastructure is there. And I have something very important to say. Every nonprofit has a dilemma. You get $1 in to invest in your program. How are you going to spend that $1 bill? Are you going to spend the dollar feeding children, saving the world, curing diseases in your wonderful mission? Or are you going to spend that dollar in building an organizational infrastructure? And here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma. If you don't invest in your organization's infrastructure, you will never grow, ever. You'll stay right on the same little treadmill that you're on right now. And it is only through investing in infrastructure that you grow. It is only by growing that you're able to do more of your mission. So every time it's important. It's important to spend the money on your mission, but every time you starve your infrastructure, you're making a strategic decision regarding your organization's future, quite frankly. And as a board member, you do not want to have people going all over themselves with fundraising. You don't want to have the gala happening in an unorganized fashion. You don't want to have major gifts be haphazard and donors feel miffed that they're not properly paid attention to. You don't want to have disorganization and confusion about who is supposed to do what, because you and I both know that that's not going to be a productive way to raise money. And it's incumbent upon board members to make sure that planning is in place, that you have the resources to carry out the work that you've decided to do. And it's also very important, and I think this is key, you do not want to carry out your mission on the backs of your employees. You do not want to treat your employees such that they are completely overworked and overwhelmed and sacrificing their own personal lives for the sake of your mission. Again, it's important as a board member to make sure your organization is a good employer, and that the plan is in place that will provide a roadmap for everyone to work in an efficient and effective manner. And I'll say one more thing about fundraising planning. It creates the stage for calm and rational discussions about fundraising. And that's what you want. You want people sometimes have emotional opinions about fundraising. People say, well, I don't like direct mail, we shouldn't do it. Or I never open my email, why are we doing all this email? The fact is that we know what works. We have data. Fundraising is a very well-researched field. So the fundraising planning process is the time to really be thoughtful about this and not make decisions based on your personal opinion and your personal preference, because the fundraising is not for you. It's not about you. The fundraising is based on what works with our donors, and your organization has data to show what your donors respond to. It's a very interesting concept. And again, planning gets the whole team on the same page, right? You want your board on the same page with your staff about what we're executing in fundraising. You don't want your board to come up with ideas in the middle of the year saying, oh, well, why don't we do this? This is great, because your staff needs and deserves a roadmap and a plan, just like you might want in your own job and in your own organization. And something else too about planning is that it allows you to set realistic fundraising targets, realistic goals. I believe in setting the goal for direct mail, the goal for our giving day, the goal for our major gifts, the goal for our board level of participation in fundraising. Those goals are backed up by numbers. They're backed up by tactics. They're backed up by lists of funding sources and lists of potential donors and numbers next to their names, so that your fundraising plan and your fundraising goals literally are backed up by real numbers. I don't believe in any, I never sign off on any plan unless I see what's behind the plan, what's behind that dollar goal. And of course, you know that if your fundraising team is working at peak efficiency and peak effectiveness, and your board is engaged in appropriate ways, you will increase revenue. So this is the way to achieve maximum revenue for your nonprofit, right? And I don't want to be a heavy, but I do want to say that your organization's future depends to a large extent on the decisions you make about fundraising strategy, because your fundraising strategy is what yields the resources to be able to carry out your mission. So your business model, your financial model of where you're looking for funding and where you secure your funding, and where you're putting those investments and resources really do yield the result of whether we can carry out our mission or not. It's very profound, very important area for board members to be educated on. And just to wind up here on Board Members' Guide to Planning, planning really fosters strategic thinking. And I don't know about you, but I like strategic thinking. I like stepping back and going, gosh, should I really be doing that? Maybe I better shift. What's the environment like? What are my opportunities like? What's working? What's not working? I think I'll go here rather than here. And it also builds support for fundraising across the organization, because when everybody buys in and realizes that they have a role to play themselves with donors, to communicate, to acknowledge, to celebrate, to be ambassadors, to be advocates, and everybody in your organization does have that role, including board members particularly. When everybody in the organization is embracing fundraising as an important mission, as an important component of your real mission, when everybody in the organization is devoted to your donors, to appreciate them, to engage them, to support them, to thank them, to bring them in like partners, when that happens, those are the nonprofits that operate at maximum revenue potential, and I know you want your organization to be there. So there are a lot of benefits to using the planning process to create broad discussions across the organization about everybody's role. What can we do? How does good fundraising work? Why do we need to make our donors our number one priority? So I highly recommend your participation in this project.